What's up, y'all? It's the Relentless podcast where we're stirring up passion and purpose for marriage.
That's right. We're diving into topics you always wanted to talk about. Real life, real struggles, real love, and real results. So what are we waiting for? Let's go in. Welcome back to the Relentless Love podcast. Man, I'm here with the beautiful Dominique Jones, my wife, myself, Brock Jones here, man. Coming off an amazing weekend. We just celebrated a birthday. Come on, somebody. Hey! Dominique had a birthday, man, and we had some fun, right?
We did. Yeah. I was very proud of you. You went all out.
Come on, I tried.
I know it wasn't easy.
Yeah, I tried, man. I'm learning the art of planning. I'm learning the art of surprise, the art of being Romeo and Juliet, kind of this whole let me kind of romance. I'm getting a little bit better at it, trying. But
because when you grew up, y'all didn't really make birthdays a big thing, so it's always kind of uncomfortable for you. But I was like, look, don't ask me. I don't want to think about anything.
You did. It's funny. We actually talked about that, was it the communication? I was like, can you just tell me what you want? Tell me what you need.
Not for my 40s. Right. So I said, you can ask this person, that person, but don't.
Yeah, I took some risks this time. I actually did plan. I did some logistic stuff. I tried to be as behind the scenes as I can with purchasing gifts. I know you saw a couple of Amazon orders. You know what I'm saying?
But I pretended I didn't know.
Right. But I tried and mapped it out, mapped the trip out and all the stuff that we did. And I got some tears. She cried on a few things.
You got a lot. I had to I can't read this right now.
Yeah. So I was grateful to see that. But I wanted to make you feel valued, special, and make you know that I'm attentive to you and to what your desires are. And I want to get better. And so I'm grateful for you for that.
You did. You exceeded my expectations.
Man, come on, man. I love it, man.
A+.
Yes. So Dominique is logistics queen. She is scheduling queen. She's very great at order and planning and calendaring and administrative skills, right? She will be considered like a leader. She is a leader. And we're going to talk about that today, about women who are leaders, women who are strong, women
who are
independent.
With a woman who's a leader.
Yeah. How do you do that? How do you do it? Because it's a thing, right? And sadly, it is a thing, right? It really shouldn't be a thing, but it is in our society and our culture. I mean, really worldwide. We can't even isolate it to our nation, America. Yeah. Worldwide, there's always been this tug of war between men and women of submission, of partnership, of teamwork, of viewing each other in certain ways. And some things are actually stereotypical and myths. How do we debunk these myths about independent, strong women and get to the root of what it is? And so, you are a very strong woman, a very high level, high caliber woman who has been amazing in everything that you've done, including in our marriage. And just share a little bit, just your experiences, even growing up and kind of finding yourself and what shaped you.
Well, I think, so women in general, we've been considered second-class citizens. And I think being a minority woman, it's a thing. I know you experience as a minority man, but being a minority woman, it's a double minority. It is just these intangible things that are always there, affecting your sense of worth and value. And when you're a strong woman, you have a strong sense of purpose and direction, but it's not always embraced. So I just remember growing up, I wanted to be with my dad. I wanted to hang out with my brother. And my dad was like, no, go be with the girls. Go. And I'm like, I don't want to hear this stuff they're talking about. I would compete. My brother, and my stepbrother joke about, me out racing them in a foot race and running from dogs and jumping fence. That was genuinely who I was. It wasn't this imposter syndrome. That's what was important to me. Yeah. And you can get judged and mislabeled. And coming into being married, it was a struggle of, okay, now I have to yield to my husband and listen to what he has to say. And it's but I have thoughts, I have ideas, I have vision. And there wasn't a place. And early on, it's sadly, even being misguided in the church, I think that subject of submission can be taught in not the most effective way. There's absolute truth to it. Right. But I think we'll talk about that. So I think it was a lot of those different dynamics at at work. And then
Right.
just with my baggage too, it can be that, oh, you're damaged, you're broken, you're bitter, you're
Right.
just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just all of those different things.
Yeah. And I think the sad part of that is that like you said, you're genuinely just being who you are. You're not, there's not like an agenda behind
But
you.
I often feel misunderstood. Even for other women, if women don't take the time to get to know me and get past kind of, I think life has just given me this hardness. But I'm actually very loving and tenderhearted, but there's just a hardness to me and a focus.
Well, I would say drive. You were driven, and when you come from certain circumstances, you have a drive about yourself and a grit about yourself that was developed because of hardships.
Yes. And resilience. So with that, it can be intimidating to
people who
women,
don't have that.
Most women and even men. Like I've struggled in positions of leadership where if they don't feel super secure in themselves, they can feel threatened too. So so not many friends. And the friends I do have, they are very similar and they understand, so we connect. Like we just get it without talking about it.
Right. Yeah. And
it's a hard life.
It is. And a lot of women walk that life. They walk that path, right? And they have to because it's who we are. Because then you end up trying to be something else or shrinking back and trying to conform to something else.
Yeah, feeling a pressure to water myself down to be comfortable, to be received. And it's tiring. And it's not, it's just not right. Everybody should be authentically who they are. But you can be perceived as it's too much for me. Like you're too much. You need to bring it down. And it's like, I'm just at a point at 40, like, oh, let me just move around if you can't handle who I am and what I bring. So.
Right. So I remember watching movies, like all the classic movies that we used to watch growing up, but the African American movies and how they portrayed Black women.
Yeah.
Strong, the Angela Bassett's, you know what I mean? That's like burning up people's cars and like just the strong, successful woman that just ain't taking nothing. But they were portrayed as angry, bitter, like
or
me against the world.
I think about Foxy Brown, like she was kind of packaged in a sex symbol.
Right. Yeah, just kind of like shaping your thought process. So when I see an intelligent Black woman, or I see a woman that's goal oriented, it's something wrong with her, man. Like she has an agenda. She's out here trying to dominate and rule the world, and she got something to prove. She got a chip on her shoulder. Yeah. Like, no, that ain't really like it. That's probably a loving, caring, generous, like compassionate woman. She just is secure in her identity. And secure in her goals, and she's not angry or traumatized because
I think culturally, Black women, because of different circumstances where we have had to be strong and we've had to just endure different things, that it's shaped. It's almost like it's in our DNA,
For real. Yeah, life and trauma shapes us, and like I said, gives us that grit. But men, we gotta be less threatened by strong women, right? Yeah. And I was laughing as we was preparing to do this talk. I was like, we can look at wildlife. We can literally look at wildlife and see that strong female presence is a blessing to nature. It's a blessing to...
Hold on. So fun fact, Brock loves watching like National Geographic animal shows. They grew up watching it as a
I'm all over that.
He's like, who wants to watch? And everybody's like...
I got like my Netflix queue is all the animal stuff, the animal documentaries that we just loved it, and even growing up.
But there is a lot to learn for sure.
Yeah, you learn about like life and family units and all that, right? The strong female presence in a pride of lions is really like that. They won't survive if they had timid female lioness. The lioness are the ones going out hunting. They're going out finding where the prey is. They're going out doing the work while the male lion is just back licking his stuff and doing his mane. And he shows up when necessary to do things. But you can look at that and understand that strong female presence is a blessing to families and to society. And so we shouldn't think that, oh, well, every woman's supposed to be weak and docile and supposed to be just come up under everything else and be what's the word? Passive.
Yeah.
Like let the women roar. Let the women do their thing, right? And we have to learn that. I had to learn that in navigating our marriage.
Yeah.
To learn that you were a strength and asset to me. And I didn't have to overcompensate to make myself feel like I'm the leader. You need to sit back. No, there was room for you to blossom and to thrive and to shine for my benefit.
Well, there is
right?
now. It took us a long, we talked through some of that.
Yeah.
But so for a while, I had to suppress who I was. I had to suppress what I had to say because anytime I tried, we were just like,
right, because we're two leaders.
Yeah,
we're
two leaders. And two very obstinate, strong-willed people by design. But as a wife, because I was trying to do it God's way, trying to honor him as best I could, that meant me being quiet for a while until he matured to a place that he understood, one, how to love me and embraced who I was, but also what it means to be a leader that God really designed for us to walk in partnership.
Right, yeah. And what I did as a mistake, and I wasn't living under a culture in a cultural sense. Back in the day, like the 40s and 50s, it was normal for a woman to be like, oh, she's a stay-at-home, wife and housekeeper and do all that stuff and being a mom and nurturer, right, and all that stuff, right? There's nothing wrong with anybody doing that, right? So I'm not saying that at all. But every woman is not wired to fit into that box. Even though they can do it, they feel boxed in and caged in and like, I'm not alive, I'm not doing, I want to take care of my home, I want to raise my kids, I want to do that. But there's much more to me, and I don't want to do this for the rest of my life like that. And I think on the onset of our marriage, I kind of like put you on the shelf, but you weren't meant to be on the shelf like that. And you had so much more to offer, but me trying to box you into that really was sucking the life out of you, and you didn't feel valued because you weren't able to come alive.
Well, and part of it was God's way. I think we met in the middle because God did call me to a season of being at home. So it helped to subdue some of that drive that I had. And it helped humble me. And I was just more dependent on him. And it helped you feel, well, it's ironic that you didn't even feel super valued, maybe because of
that was the communication stuff.
But I think he wanted me in that position to have a sense of dependence because when I came from my upbringing that we talked about last episode, I had this mindset of I don't need a man. I can do bad by myself. All of these things that you hear even in movies and songs in the African American culture. But seeing my mom struggle, like I really can do this on my own. She took care of 4 kids. Like she did her thing. She was a hard worker. So anyway, that season of being at home broke that mindset. But I think what sustained me was I didn't stop dreaming though. Like I was dreaming about, things. I had vision beyond where I was, whereas some women can just like hone in on that, and that's their world is wrapped around their kids or their world. And it wasn't. Like I knew it was for a season, and then I became, when I finally was released to go and pursue things, man, I started businesses. Like I think even at home, like I was doing 31 bags. Like
you was doing everything.
That was in me.
Yeah, that was good. It was inspiring to me, actually, man. Even though it was challenging at the same time, I did feel like a man in certain sense because I felt like, I'm taking care of my wife, I'm taking care of my my home, I'm doing this and that, I'm providing, like all of that gave me a sense of manhood. But I think I wasn't being manly in the sense of building you up.
Right.
And I think that's what a lot of men, we miss sometimes. Our responsibility is to build our spouse up, is to allow them to shine and become who they are and to be their number one support. A lot of times we get it twisted and think, well, the woman's supposed to be number one. We're supposed to take the helm first in saying, how can I make you elevated? How can I lift you up and make you shine and come alive? Because when you come alive, I'm better, right? And so with that, like, you needed things from me. Right, in those seasons. strong women have needs. They're not just because they're self-driven and like they're strong in leadership and they have all these amazing qualities and they feel you can be viewed as self-sufficient and you don't need no help. You actually need things, right? And so like what would you say are those things that you need to come around you in the times where you feel like, man, I'm isolated, I don't have this, I don't have that, or people are intimidated, or I'm viewed a certain way? What are the needs that strong leadership-driven women need?
I think from her husband especially, she needs him to be strong and confident within himself and not see her as an enemy or as competition. Yeah. And that, I don't think most people would be honest, but that's a real dynamic. That can be between a strong woman and a man. If you feel threatened or if you have insecurities, then you're like, oh, well, let me,
right. Yeah, let me rise up.
Yeah, which is that animalistic, I don't know.
And it's real.
Yeah.
It's real. We ain't gonna downplay it like it's not a truth. There's a truth to it.
Yeah.
To where you have to navigate those feelings. Because there's times where I be feeling like, well, wait a minute.
Right.
Who the leader here? Hold on, let me. And I have to realize that that's not, we're not competing.
So it's not that a strong woman wants to be in control. She's had to be in control. So if she has a strong man who's confident, who's decisive, then she can relax. But if you don't create that environment where she feels like, oh, I got to make sure bills are paid, I have to make sure. If you put her in a situation where she has to, then what else? What else do you expect?
Yeah, what do you expect for her to do?
Yeah, so I think a man being confident, being self-sufficient in himself, will then take that I don't know, that threatened sense, which kind of creates that intimacy that's needed. Which is the other thing is, I think a strong woman needs a safe space to like show up authentically and feel like she can be vulnerable. Yeah, because I think there were times that I felt like if I said anything that showed weakness, you would almost use it against me, whether you realize it or not. You would bring it up, and it's like, well, why would I share that with you if you're just going to weaponize it? And that's, I think, critical. Like, she may not have a lot of weaknesses, but that one thing is probably very tender. Right. So don't, like, poke at it.
Yeah. And that, I mean, that's human.
Yeah.
Everybody got weaknesses. I think that's why I don't like the stereotypical view of like a strong-minded, secure woman that they are superheroes because they're human just like everybody else. Like I think a strong man doesn't get the same. We don't get the same myths put on us. It's just like, oh yeah, you got it, man. You good. It's not viewed as what's it called? It's not viewed as a negative. Yeah. Versus for a woman, it's viewed as a negative. So there's a microscope of trying to find something.
She's trying to know, I don't want to do it.
Right, yeah. It's just trying to find something that's the reason why you're that way instead of just saying, man, that's just who.
Yes, there's a lack of empathy. Yeah. Right. And I would say more importantly than anything, a strong woman needs a spiritual covering from her husband because of how society can perceive us, or at work. Like, I remember being in high-level leadership positions and just all of those dynamics that I couldn't explain that I was up against. Right. I needed you to cover me, and you did. By that season that I was in that, you were covering me in prayer. But sometimes we need to know that you have our back. Because some of the things, like I've had to have conversations like, what is this? Oh, yeah. Then I don't need my husband, almost like you're taking the side of them. Yeah. Nah. And that, I've heard it. I've heard it from other strong women that I've been in. So we need to be covered spiritually, emotionally by our spouse.
Yeah. Fellas, y'all hear that? Yes. Y'all be taking notes,
you don't
man.
know what that means?
Listen.
Because and what I would say is, because a strong woman has a high capacity, that means, like, spiritually, I was dealing with things, territory, darkness, that would take the average person out. Right. So if you're then covering me and protecting me from that, your prayer life has to be on a different level. Yeah, your sensitivity and awareness. Right. I remember you saying the past few years, like, you felt like God had you in watchman mode. Facts. So you have to study to understand what that really means. Yeah. Like, it's a different, I think it's a privilege though.
It is. It's a privilege to be the head of a family and to be the one that's looking out for the well-being of your family. It's not a chore. It's not like something to be doing like, oh man, I gotta pray for my wife. I gotta look out for what she's doing. No, you get to. Bro, I was blessed to be able to look out and try to be aware and sensitive to where you at, what environments you're in, what is God, like what are the people that you may need to look out for, that's my responsibility, but it's my privilege to be able to do that because like, in all honesty, you know, from our faith system, that was the downfall of Adam not looking out and being aware of what was going on around him, which led to deception, which led to all the things we experience now.
Yeah.
We have a responsibility to look
out. So I'll make it really practical. So I was a leader of an organization that dealt with trafficking and sexual exploitation. I was a leader over kids ministry. So where would our family be attacked?
Right.
Sexual like stuff.
Right.
Trying to go after our kids. Just attack on our kids when our marriage was finally solid. I think at first it was a target of our marriage, but now our kids are a target.
Right.
So we have, and especially my husband has had to step up his covering on that. Anything, if you're a leader in finances, what do you think is going to be under attack? I wanted to just make it practical of when a woman has authority and influence in an area, you're going to be attacked in that area, and you have to be covered in that sense.
Right, and expect.
You can expect the adversity and the challenge.
And expect it in your marriage, like she said too. We had to double down on the fact that me and Dominique are partners. Yes. That this is a partnership. We're on the same team. We're not enemies. You're not my competition. Your strengths, knowing the strengths of your spouse, knowing the strengths of you and your weaknesses, knowing that you're not like this. You're not a cog like that. You're a cog that goes like this. And you're fortified when you work together in partnership. Like leaning into that is really what that allowed us to blast off in all the things that we've been able to do together in establishing businesses, ministries, leading our family and parenting and all this kind of stuff, right? Like we're on the same team. We're a partner. And so your gifts make room for mine. And mine make room for yours. But when we spiritually are aligned in that way and we recognize what our positions are spiritually, then we can fight for each other in that area because that affects everything. And it also makes you be able to show up authentically yourself, how God made you to be, and not feel inferior, not feel insecure. And the same thing with me, like I don't feel insecure about who I am as a man because I know my identity is. I know who I am. I know my calling. I know what I'm walking in. And I know that you're a blessing to me in who you are and what I'm doing as a man. And we have to figure that out, fellas. Like we can no longer keep walking insecure around other people, men, but women and our spouses, especially being insecure about what they're doing, who they are, and feeling threatened. We gotta kill that, man, because that's not true, and we're missing out on a blessing.
Well, I remember before we figured out like the partnership element, I remember feeling so I don't know. I think I felt dejected. I was a little angry and bitter, like. I could go to this church or I can go to this organization and they see value in me and what I can do, but I don't feel accepted in my home, like to use my gifts. And I just accepted it for what it was, but I was like, this is not fulfilling. How much more fulfilling could I be if I was able to show up authentically and like use my gifts? And it took a while, but when we were able to do that with our business, with the nonprofit, we both came alive. So Brock, what would you say, like what shifted, even in me using my spiritual gifts, like I'm hearing things from God, you know, how did you shift in that? Like knowing when, okay, I need to hear from God versus, oh, God is speaking through my wife and I need to listen.
Right. I mean, it's really simply that, like, how important is your spiritual life to you as a man? How important is your identity and are you secure in who you are? Because if you're not, then you're going to be threatened and feel ignorant. You're going to not. I mean, make it practical, bro. If you walk in a room full of scientists and you don't know nothing about science, or you have a surface level understanding of science and everybody else has degrees and got all kind of like 12 years lab experience, you're gonna feel somewhat insecure and intimidated when they're speaking on things that you don't have you don't have any type of understanding about, to be able to step up and say, well, me too, I understand. Here's what I know. So with lack of security in who you are, lack of understanding of where you're going in life, and understanding in your spiritual life what God is saying to you and confirming in you, you're gonna be threatened or feel less than.
Yeah.
So I had to ask, like, who am I? If the switch flipped when I got understanding of who I was, and I began to spend more time learning what God had for me, learning what it meant to be a husband, learning what it meant to love, and learning what it meant to be a visionary and not just be existing in a cycle of life. Because when I was not coming alive and living, was when I was just working a job in a cycle of go to work, pay bills, come home, and not feel what I needed to feel in my home from you, because I wasn't cultivating it.
Yeah.
So once I got security in who I was, identity in who I was, and I got purpose in my life, and then God gave me vision for our family, that's when I was being able to reconcile what you were saying to me was to push that forward.
Right.
It didn't happen until I got what I needed to get from God myself. So it's just that. Spend more time.
So that reminds me, remember, like for a long time, I was like, honey, I think it's time for you to leave your job. And for years, I kept saying that. And then I let it go. I was like, all right, he's going to do his thing. And then tell him about the time the woman gave you a word.
Oh, I got so many things. There was about 3 or 4 times that weren't random, but they were intentional. People coming up to me at my job saying, why are you still up here? Like literally people I never talked to. You still working here? You do music and you do this and that. Man, what you doing still here? Why you doing both of them? You can do that. But I went and did a show I got booked for, and I was getting ready to leave the show after I got done, and I forgot something. Typical me, forgetting stuff that had to. But I forgot something. I had to go back into the building to get it. And when I came back out after I got it, I was going to the car, and there was a lady outside. She said, hey, I thought you left. Come here. I got something I need to tell you. I'm like, okay, what's up? You know what I mean? And she said, God told me to tell you that you've been running like Jonah away from what you're supposed to do. And that you've been worried that, like, if you do what you know you're supposed to do, that you're not going to be able to pay your bills. You're not going to be able to do this. And she said, God told me to tell you that go ahead and jump off the boat. Go ahead and commit to what he's telling you to do. Go where he wants you to go and do it. And he's going to make sure all your bills and stuff are taken care of, but you need to stop running away from this. And I'm like, what? And I went home, and I got home, I just laid on the floor. And I actually opened my Bible up. And when I opened my Bible up, it was pretty much the exact scripture. And I just laid on the floor, and I just cried.
It's
I
the
said,
second
God.
laying on the floor moment.
Yeah, second. I have many of those. There's just some moments in life where you know God is being crystal clear.
Yeah.
And he's like, bro, leave your job.
Yeah.
And I remember I put my 2 weeks in because I was on paternity leave with Chloe. Yeah. And I put my 2 weeks in and I left. And that was 2017. And I've been entrepreneur ministry mode since then. And God has met every need that we needed over time, man. He's held true to his word. And so, but that also helped our partnership.
Yeah, because, it helped it after because you learn to appreciate.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It helped our partnership. We began to really work together.
But I used to get frustrated, but I just relinquished that. So I would just encourage women, like, men are just wired to want to make the decision to figure it out on their own, and they need time to figure that out because their ego is tied to it, their sense of importance is tied to it. So just be patient with them. It takes time, but I got to the point where I don't care if you listen to me, I just want you to be obedient because then our family wins. And there were times when you weren't that our family suffered. And so he's gotten better at it, appreciating and recognizing when God was really speaking to me or just valuing my voice and my thoughts and considering me and conferring with me. So I appreciate that.
No doubt. It's ownership. And I'm thankful for that. But thankful for the things that are in you. Strong women are great. Yeah. And let's just debunk all the stuff that comes along with stereotyping and putting these these things on women who are natural born leaders in different ways. You strong women in business, strong women in home, strong women in sports, strong women in everything, right? Like, let women be who they are and let's nurture them. Let's lead well. Let's mutually submit. That's what it is. It's mutual submission. Sometimes I need to submit and let you do your thing. Sometimes you need to submit and hear from me and let me. And we do that organically and respectfully and honor, because we're both assets to each other and our family and to the world as a whole. So let's let everybody come alive and be who they're supposed to be.
Yeah. And I would just one last takeaway. If you study the Proverbs 31 woman, sometimes we focus on, oh, well, she was such a good homemaker and all of this. But when you really look line upon line, she was a beast.
Facts.
Like, she was an entrepreneur. It says she would go out, buy a field, examine it. Like, she was very business savvy, very entrepreneurial. But the thing was, she did many things too. She juggled well, but the heart of her husband could trust in her. And so that's what I would say is, woman, if you're that strong woman and you have a strong mind, once his heart can trust in you, then he's gonna listen more. So,
boy, that was a jewel right there, man. Take
and same for the other side for the husband. Like, get to know her and know her heart, so you can trust that what she has to say is for your best interest.
That's real. Partnership, teamwork, trust, honor, respect, love, visionary, security, and identity. Get those things. If you don't have it, be honest, humble yourself, everybody, and get those things, because you got the recipe for success right there in your home. And a lot of times we just don't recognize it, and then we end up destroying what was meant to be good for us. So, like, man, let's get it together, y'all. Let's tap in, man. Marriage is pursuing purpose, man, and passion. That's our heart. We want to pour into you guys. Listen, if y'all need any help, any guidance, any coaching, any mediation, feel free to reach out to us, schedule a discovery call, but lock in with us, because we want to pour into your marriage, your relationships, and see y'all win out there, man. So, from me and Dominique, much love to y'all. Relentless Love Podcast, signing out. Peace.